Hey guys, Fishin N Stuff. Today, we're making a no-roll sinker mold from scratch. So, stick around. Today, we're making a no-roll sinker mold from aluminum. Sinker molds generally are made from aluminum or steel, and they can get very expensive. Today's sinker mold is made out of good materials, it's built to last, with basic tools, and it's inexpensive. I've seen sinker molds made out of wood and all sorts of things, but today's DIY sinker mold is easy to make, and the sinkers it produces is pretty dang cool. Alright guys, all we're using for this project is I got some aluminum pipe. You can use any size you want. The bigger it is, the more heavier weight's gonna be. This one looks like it might be a 4 or 5 ounce weight when I'm done. I got a couple of bolts and I want the kind that countersink. I got a piece of aluminum. Just make sure it's wide enough that your pipe fits on it. It doesn't have to be huge. I mean, you can use a bigger piece if you want. Just make sure it's bigger than your pipe. And I got a piece of steel, and the size of the steel doesn't matter. This is 1/8 inch, and that's the most important part. I'm making hold downs with this, and I could use aluminum, but aluminum bends easier, so I'm using 1/8 inch steel. The good thing about this project, all it requires is that you're able to drill a couple holes and cut steel or aluminum, and that's it. No welding. No special tools needed, just a grinder and a drill. So let's make a mess out of this and get it all cut up. All the different sizes and thicknesses of this material and widths depends on how big of a weight you're gonna make. But after you're through, you should have a base plate. You should have a little 1/2 inch piece of pipe. This is cut about 1/2 inch thick. Of course, you're gonna have your nuts and bolts I talked about. And I cut a piece of steel. Now I gotta cut this into 2 pieces, and I gotta drill holes in all of this stuff. And I'll explain what I'm doing as I go. These are some core pins I bought, and they're made by the Do It company. But all core pins is they go through the lead where your line's gonna go through. And they're soft and smooth. These look like they're made out of copper maybe. You don't have to use these. You can use any stainless steel wire. You can use a clothes hanger. Whatever you're gonna use on yours, make sure you drill the hole in this pipe the same size as the pin you're gonna use. Took one of these pins and checked it. And as you can see, it's 3/32. And it's a pretty good tight fit. You're going to want a tight fit because you don't want no lead leaking out on you. Okay, so we drilled a hole. It's pretty snug. I believe it's going to work fine. Next thing we're going to do is drill a hole in each end of the plate and try to get them in the center. The hole size will be determined by what size bolt you're using. So again, you can come over here to your hole sizer, and this one looks like it's going to be 1/4 inch. All right, we got our 2/4 inch holes drilled. Now, if you got a countersink, that's great. I do have one, but I'm going to show you a little trick how you can countersink this without buying a countersink. If you know what size the head of your bolt is, it looks like ours is about 15/32. You can use that size drill bit. The end of a drill bit is beveled like a countersink anyway. You can just go down into it, but don't go all the way through it, and it'll leave a countersink in the bottom. Some people probably already knows that, but I learned that doing woodwork for years. But the main objective here is to get our bolt up into the top of the plate, because when we set it on the table, we don't want it rocking. Okay, so we got our countersinks drilled in it. You see what I mean? We made those with just a drill bit because all we're really using is the bevel on the end of the drill bit. That's how you can do a countersink without a countersink. Now we need to put our bolts in, put the nuts on them, and we can move on to the next step. Now we got our bolts in it. You see how flat it sits on the table? That's because we countersunk those holes. Makes everything nice and neat. Next, we're gonna make our hold downs. We're gonna take our little piece of steel that's cut about a 1/2 inch thick. We're gonna drill some holes in them. We're gonna cut them off the length they need to be. Okay, now we got all our pieces cut out. We just need to clean some of this stuff up. I'm gonna clean this off, clean this up, clean the edges and everything, make it nice and pretty. And we need to clean our little tabs up. Then I'll put it all together and show you how it works. Alright, so we got all our pieces cleaned up, got them cut out. Now we're ready to put our mold together. I added a nut and a lock washer to both bolts because we need to get it to the right height. Cleaned up this side of the pipe really good because we want it smooth. We need for it to set really flat. Now you see how the nuts are just barely lower than the pipe? The reason we needed to space it up like that, now we put our little hold downs on and they'll hold the pipe down for us. Then you just put your nuts on. But this is what you got after you put your nuts on. You take and put your rod in, and that's gonna be your hole and your weight, of course. Two little steel hold downs here hold your pipe down. And as you can see, we don't have any gaps in there. I think it's ready to pour. I'm interested in trying this thing out. So I'm gonna heat my little lead pot up here and we'll give it a whirl. I got my little weight jig I made ready. I'm heating up my lead pot. There's all kinds of different lead pots. You can even get a regular old can or something and heat it up with a torch if you want. I'm just using a cheap little lead pot. They got some you pull a little lever and it comes out the bottom and they're pretty cool, but I just don't do it enough to spend that much money on it. But you will need you a spoon, an old spoon, because you need to scrape the trash off the top. The pure lead will stay on the bottom and the trash will rise to the top. And you just take your little spoon here and scrape it off. Something else you'll probably need to get is like some weld gloves, some kind of leather gloves, because this stuff gets hot and you need to be careful. I think lead melts at 600 and something degrees, so you don't want to get any on you. The lead's done melted. You need to take your spoon and get all your trash out of the way. Get your trash off the top, and now you're ready to pour. If you're pouring lead, don't stand right over it. Normally I run a fan, but I had to cut it off so you could hear me talk. But it's a good idea to have a fan on because lead fumes aren't good for you. And it don't bother me a bit. When you pour your lead in the mold, start turning your wire because if you don't, it's just going to be harder to take out. If you start twisting it, it'll loosen it up and then you can pull it right out. It's cooled off. Now let's see how hard it is to get out. It come out. The reason we made this the way we did, if you can't get it out, you can take it apart and just push it out with your thumb. But it came out on its own. I think I'm gonna pour another one right fast while I got my lead heated up. All you wanna do, you just need to stick your pin back in you ready to pour again. It actually works pretty dang good. I mean, some of them look really good. That first one I made, it's a little bit ugly, but it will still work. But if you make one that don't come out right or you don't like it, it's pretty dang simple. You just throw it back in the pot and let her melt back down and pour it again. See how fast that is? What's really cool, if your sanding's good on this pot, I mean, if you let them cool down, they pop right out. So this part probably is not even necessary. I put it on there just in case you ever get one stuck, you can take it apart. Plus, if you build it like this, you could make different hold downs in different sizes and change it out, because the variations for this mold is kind of unlimited. All right, this is a 4-ounce sinker that I bought from the store. Cost $1.20 for one sinker. Now you can probably get them cheaper if you buy them in quantity, but I'm gonna check the weight of it to see how accurate it is. So it's 3.8 ounces. This is one of our sinkers that we made. The only difference in these two is the line feeds through this one, and this one you gotta clip on. I will check the weight of our sinker we made. Is 5.8 ounces. So I guess this is a 6-ounce sinker technically, if this one's 3.8. Like I said, this weight is 4 ounces, cost me $1.20. This weight here is 6 ounces, and it cost me less than 20 cents to make, closer to 15 cents. And I bought the lead from the scrapyard. Today's bonus tip is on cutting metal. I use a big cold cut saw, and a lot of people ask me where I got the blade. Well, it's a cold cut saw blade, but don't put one on a compound miter saw. You need a cold cut saw because they turn less RPM. Some people can't afford a cold cut saw. They're only $200, but this right here will cut just about anything you need cut. And this grinder in particular came from Harbor Freight for $10. I mean, who ain't got $10 to spend on a DIY? And this grinder here came from Lowe's, and I spent $25 on it. So $10 or $25 will put you in the game of doing DIYs. All you need is a cutoff disc. I have a lot of grinders because I like to put different discs on them. That way I don't have to change them so often. This was my first wax saw. It had an abrasive disc. I got it at Harbor Freight. It's kind of tiny, but it does a good job. And I think I only spent 25 bucks on this, so that's an option. And on today's DIY, all you really need is something that cuts and a drill. And you can get drills even cheaper than you can get grinders. So there's really no reason you can't make anything I make outside of welding. And you can get cheap welders too. One last thing, technically, you could even make this thing out of wood. You could take a Foster bit, drill your big hole in your wood, and then take another drill bit and drill through it this way. And you could do this out of wood. But it's not gonna last as long as aluminum. And I thought about making one out of wood to make it simpler, but I didn't know how easy it would be to get the weights out. So I wanted it built like this where I could take it apart if I needed to. Well, that turned out pretty dang awesome. And the applications you could use that on are unlimited. You could get different size pipes and make all sorts of different size leads. It really wasn't that hard, and you should give it a try. Look guys, if it's your first time seeing one of my videos, check out my channel page. I've got a long list of DIYs that'll help save you some money, and if you like it, click subscribe. Click the bell so that YouTube will notify you when I post and you can watch them. I'm sure you buy some type of respirator, but me personally, I never wear the things and it don't bother me a bit. And as a matter of fact, me personally, I never wear the things and it don't bother me a bit. See you on the next build.